Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Ryan on Listen Up. Ryan, oh my, not even 24 hours later after the Final Four lost. And boy, do the pages turn quickly because last night I told you, I'm like, Ryan, we literally have to wake up and turn the page. I don't know. I was keeping the faith, but I really did not expect this. And boy, oh boy, oh, dude, you and I have a lot to talk about within these next 10 to 15 minutes. Ryan, we've heard from a lot of sources. Listen to this, Ryan. Breaking news that number one basketball recruit in 2024 class commits to UConn. And that, my friend, is Sarah Strong. Let's have a listen, Ryan. Take a look.
Pretty much, yeah. So, the next 4 years, I'll be going to.
A lot of excitement here. Can you talk about what went into choosing UConn, the Huskies, and Gino Ariema?
All right. Well, instead of hearing more from her, we're going to focus on Ryan and what Ryan thinks about. What am I doing? Like, Ryan, welcome to UConn, Sarah Strong. Like, here I am still like kind of sobbing from last night. It happened. It happened. I was hoping for it ever since that last episode that we had about her. So welcome. Welcome to UConn, Sarah Strong. And I can't wait to see what Ryan has to say about this one. Oh, wow. And if correct me if I'm wrong, this pretty much takes care of the whole roster. I mean, is it any point at all to have an episode? Now we still can, but not in UConn's favor. Any reason to have a not a trade? What's the word I'm looking for, Ryan? The transfer portal. I don't think there's any reason to have a video specifically about UConn now this year.
No, fortunately, there won't be. Yeah, it is an amazing news after just a night after, obviously, the heartbreak and sorrow. We get some very, very great positive news that we were hoping for. Just like we said last night, didn't think it would come this early in the morning, but we're glad it did so we could go ahead and get this video out for you guys. Number one recruit in the class of 2024, Sarah Strong, has officially decided to become a UConn Husky, so we can't be any more excited. We're super stoked that she chose UConn. Of course, we already had an episode earlier about Sarah Strong announcing her final three schools, and I'm so happy she picked UConn over UNC and Duke. Strong is actually the third number one recruit to commit to UConn in the last 5 years. The other two number one recruits were Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd. So some pretty elite company already. Obviously, there's a ton of other Maya Moore, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, I believe, are some other names that were also number one recruits to come to UConn. So, like you kind of mentioned, UConn now has a completely full roster with Aubrey Griffin, of course, coming back, and Paige Becker is coming back. So now all 15 spots are officially filled up. Of course, Sarah Strong will now join guards Allie Ziebell and Morgan Cheli in the class of 2024 recruits officially coming to UConn. But I think this is such a huge signing for the Huskies, especially with Aaliyah Edwards leaving. Hopefully, Sarah Strong can provide some help to fill that void. Of course, we still do have Amari DeBerry, Ayanna Patterson, Ice Brady, and Yana El Alfi at that forward position to play inside. But of course, as we've learned, you can never really have too much depth at any position. But I just can't wait to watch Strong's growth at UConn. She's done just about everything you can do as a high school player, averaging 23 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks per game, all across 3 years, winning 2 state championships, 2 Gatorade Player of the Year awards, Naismith Girls High School Player of the Year, 2 gold medals. So she definitely has the resume. So hopefully that follows her into stores, and hopefully we can add her to the list of all-time greats to walk through those doors at UConn.
Very well said. I highly recommend everybody to go to ESPN and read the article From Spain to Stores, Top Recruit Sarah Strong's Personal Path to UConn. Ryan, there's a quote in there, and you and I will learn a lot about this talented young lady going down the stretch as she makes her way into UConn. But there is a quote, and I can't wait to read on in this article after this episode, after this video that we're having. And read about the quote and behind this. But Ryan, this is a direct quote from the article. You should have just taken the layup. So Ryan, the mindset, if Ed tells you anything, the mindset is already there. And you go read it. I'm not going to tell you or anybody else anything else as far as the meaning behind that quote, but go read it and find out what it means. And pretty much tells you the mindset, the kind of player that Gino's getting already right off the bat. You know, number one recruit, I get all that. That speaks for itself. But again, you have to live up to that hype. And I think that she really has what it takes. We've seen, well, I'm actually, this is false when I say this. So I actually shouldn't say this about college, but in sports overall, we've seen a lot of a bust, if you will, as far as they're number one. He's number one. She's number one. This time, man, I believe. And like I told you on the way back home on the road, I'm like, during our phone call, I'm like, Ryan, as unfortunate as it is, as it sounds, it just maybe wasn't meant to be when Mule and Edwards were there. But it's all starting to come together, man. I can feel it because I know I specifically have that faith and that drive and the will, no matter if it happens or it doesn't happen, to keep covering this team in and out with you. I think that it has to happen before Paige leaves. It has to happen, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been hoping for it for quite some time. Of course, there was so much hype when Paige came here as a freshman. Of course, AZ Fudd arrived on the scene and played great as a freshman. So hopefully Sarah Strong can also kind of follow in their footsteps a little bit. And of course, we got to watch Ashlyn Shade and KK Arnold this year. And hopefully Caden Samuels, Ice Brady have great seasons next year as well and kind of continue to develop. And that's something I just always love about UConn, despite taking a loss and a couple of defeats, tough defeats in the last couple of years in this NCAA tournament. We can always look forward to the future in some capacity and getting another number one recruit. Of course, like you said, it's a lot of hype to live up to, but I don't think no matter what number you are, whether you're number one or number 100 recruit coming to UConn, I think just announcing that commitment to become a Husky already puts a ton of pressure on you. So it's a lot for these women to try to live up to already, all the expectations. But I think, Gino and the coaches have a lot of experience trying to develop these women and help them dealing with that. So I think for Morgan Cheli, Allie Ziebell, and Sarah Strong, they'll do great. Hopefully they can learn from a couple of great players already here on the roster at UConn, and I think they'll do amazing as a lot of other these women already have on this roster.
If I didn't already say the name of this writer, I apologize. Credit Shane Laughlin of ESPN for that article I was speaking about, From Spain to Stores. So make sure, Ryan, that you and everybody else go check out that article. A lot of great information about Sarah Strong. Let's go over to Maggie Vanoni. We appreciate her a lot, always bringing us the news right away, Ryan. Her post says Sarah Strong, the number one ranked recruit in the class of 2024, announces her commitment to UConn women's basketball. And Ryan, when we go through our later on in the summertime, when we go through our series of players on the roster, Strong joins guards Allie Ziebell, number 4, Morgan Cheli, number 18, in UConn's class of 2024. Now, Ryan, on your notebook, you can add the name Sarah Strong, number 1.
Yeah, and like I said, you can always look forward to the future at UConn, and of course I believe we already did have videos on Ziebell and Cheli joining the roster, but of course we'll have one more before the season starts again this off season. But yeah, it's always exciting that no matter what number recruit they are to get a new player and try to, watch them hopefully blossom. Hopefully all 4 years here at UConn is always something to look forward to.
All right, some comments. This is going to get very interesting. I kind of don't want to have to read comments from last night's video, but we're going to do it anyway. Jason D'Amico said because, of course, Paige would blame herself in the post game. That's what the greats do. They carry the load, win or lose. That said, you absolutely cannot make that call. Don't come at me with, oh, if they would have done this. Jason says, you don't make that call. Paige lives for that shot. By making that call, they also took away from Iowa as well. They will never know if Paige hits that shot or not. Paige was made to take that shot, and it was ripped from her. And it wasn't just taken from her, it was taken from the women's game itself. Just terrible. We should be talking about how special this group of women are, but instead their hard work and sacrifices were snuffed out by a bullcrap call. Peace, fellas. And Jason is still 12 hours later shaking his head.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment, and I watched that post-game interview this morning with Gino, Paige, Aaliyah, and Nika all stood or sat at the stand after the game, and of course it was
Emotional.
very emotional. I think, not only those three players, but every player on UConn, I think, had very high emotions, which is of course to be expected. But like some of Gino and I think Paige was saying during that interview, nobody really expected them to be here in the first place. But of course, you don't really think about any of that or feel that emotion after what happened last night. And I agree with Jason. I don't you just can't really you can't make that call in the final 4 seconds of a Final Four game, whether if it was the right call, the wrong call, whatever it may be. Of course, like I said, the game doesn't really come down to one call. That UConn did make a lot of mistakes in that game, and like Paige said, of course, there's some things that she could have done better, along with all the other players. But it's just such a tough call and a tough way to end a Final Four game when you're only down a couple points.
Yeah, last one standing says talk about missing shots. Reading the box score: Iowa 14 free throws, UConn 4 free throws. You're seriously going to conclude that Iowa's defense was that clean the entire game? UConn wins with 3 more made free throws. Well, I told you, Ryan. I said in the last check-in, go back and look. I believe that I said it would come down to the small plays, not the, and you didn't really see that. Now Caitlin Clark did do better in the second half, but first half, it wasn't all about the flashy 3-pointers. And, I mean, credit Clark for making a lot of them deep downtown threes like she always does. I don't know how she does it, but she is a generational talent. But again, it wasn't about the big flashy plays last night, Ryan. It was a hard fought battle last night.
Yeah, and like Gino said also during the press conference, if you look at the box score before the game without seeing the final score, UConn should have won that game based on the box score and how they really held Caitlin Clark down and not allowed her to really have a breakout game and held Iowa to really an off night in terms of them highest scoring offense in basketball, and holding them to only 71 points is quite the accomplishment. But in the end, unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough, and it's a tough pill to swallow. But UConn, I think they gave it everything they had, definitely gave it a shot. But like I said, unfortunately, last night it just wasn't quite enough.
This was interesting. David, the call was trash. The network got the matchup they wanted. But to be honest, did it really matter who won? There is no possible way anyone is going to beat South Carolina.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well, and I think a lot of other people were thinking the same thing, whether they want to admit it or not. South Carolina the whole year is the team to beat, and I think Caitlin Clark was saying that during the press conference as well. they've been on top for really the past 3 years. I think they've only lost 3 games in the past 3 years. So yeah, they're definitely they've definitely been the team to beat. Whether they can finish off this perfect season, does Iowa spoil their perfect season like they did last year during the Final Four? We'll find out tomorrow. But like I said, hopefully, either way, it's a very close game, a very good game. I'm sure millions and millions of people will be tuning in again. So something to look forward to.
All right, one more to leave us off on a high note. Sarah Strong, this is just 1 hour ago, Ryan. Thank you, Arthur, for checking in. Sarah Strong commits to UConn. Paige running the point. Ziebell and Ash on the corners shooting threes. Oh boy, Ryan, this sounds good. Strong and Yana around the paint. First off the bench, KK and Brady. Tennessee has Rocky Top. Did you know the Connecticut State song is Yankee Doodle? Let's hear Yankee Doodle.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting trying to for Gino trying to figure out what the lineups are gonna be with new players coming in, and obviously the players from before, especially the freshmen, still trying to develop, and so it's not gonna be easy. It never is going into a new season, trying to figure out where everybody's gonna play, trying to figure out the minutes and different lineups. Of course, I'm sure we'll talk about it more as the season goes on, but always fun to try to predict and look forward to the future of what these players can provide when they're wearing a UConn Huskies uniform.
All right, Ryan. It's a welcomed gift to encourage others to achieve greatness. The next 4 years of greatness, Ryan, you're getting ready to witness it. And that all starts with Sarah Strong. UConn lands the #1 recruit in the class of 2024. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.